Alright, so hearing some cool stuff about 33 Immortals, was looking forward to this for a little bit. I'm glad to jump into the sort of first-time user experience, or FTUE. Going to give it about an hour just to see where I get within the confines of this. I've made a point of not really looking at much about this game. Obviously, a couple of screenshots and parts of a trailer without sound have come my way, but I figured I'd go ahead and play this trailer and get an idea for what we're looking at here.
Oh, defiant souls. Wield your blades fiercely and fight together as one. An uprising stirs among the damned. Let it carry you through the inferno. Lifting you towards your destiny. Join the rebellion. Stand united. Face your foes and claim victory. 33 strong. Rebels against his final judgment. Fight for your eternal life.
So, love the art, and it seems like it's going to be animated beautifully, fluidity through the roof, and you know, the art style is working for me already. I'm getting sort of Cult of Lamb-ish meets 80s meets, you know, Failure Diablo vibes across the board here. I like that it's not super dark because of some of the more simplistic imagery. It feels bright, even though the subject matter is obviously kind of dark. So I'm excited for this. It also looks like it definitely does better as a multiplayer experience, or I can't tell if I'm going to play as all 33 of these folks. I'm a little confused about that, but that's all right. Let's see what happens here. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I am playing on Xbox Series S. I am not streaming this. I actually downloaded it in the background so that I could play it. It's also in early access. At this point, there's no reviews or aggregated score on Metacritic, so we're talking about a truly fresh look here at the end of the day. I have not been asked to play this or paid to play this at this point. This is just me looking through it from, you know, a UX and UI researcher's perspective to get an idea of, you know, what could potentially be tuned about the front end experience here to give it the best shot. Okay. Cool.
Poor soul, your mortal life has ended. Eternal punishment awaits you in the beyond. Yet I sensed a particular strength in you. Come, damned soul, answer my call. Join the rebellion, and together we shall break the chains of your fate.
This is not video, but I assume that means things are loading. not being able to run and then shoot in the opposite direction, I guess, makes sense technically, but doesn't necessarily feel good when other games allow me to do both. Right. So I'll go to that chamber, I assume. I already knew that treasure chest was there. Yep. Go to the torch chamber. Expect to be able to move and quick shot without literally facing the direction. I don't want to be able to shoot backwards with a bow necessarily. That doesn't make any sense, but like some move on the run, maybe a different weapon will allow that to happen. Feels like a miss if not. Let's open this up. I know that this is an early gripe. Like, this is early access, and this may not be final assets. And in general, I love the art style here. I have no problem with like the way Beatrice is drawn, but there is a fuzziness to her that I don't like. It's this simple. It should be like a vectorized image that's going to expand properly, so that contours are clean in the way that she's been drawn. Because you have a heavily contoured art style, you got all those dark black outlines basically. I want those to feel way more refined in whatever the final product ends up being, and I would assume that's the way it's going to go. I also feel like her eyes need just a little bit more accent there, so it doesn't look like there's just this idea of blue floating in, a sea of white. Really nitpicky and probably completely unfair this early on. Everything else feels very crisp, including the font choice, which reminds me a lot like Rogue Legacy, and just the way it sits on the screen. There's a lot of high contrast going on that makes it easy to read, so legibility across the board is easy, and then you got like the static asset just feels a little bit fuzzy. Okay, so we're trying to get these relics. Sweet. Okay, so what choice am I making here? So I'm gonna bring in. Let's just spend 35. I'm gonna say I don't bring any of this in then. I think I can make that choice though. Now the question obviously is this where those things would be if I had the choice to purchase? loading more, guys. Oh, so yeah, these just that was the thing that I could have kept circling around forever potentially, but it seemed like they were just gonna keep spawning more and more dudes. No idea what that ult that I did with the right trigger was, or how to interact with it. That sucks. But it very much feels like it wanted me to come here. Kind of Soul Reaver vibe is the idea of going under and then potentially having to wake my way back out. Dante, but of course, so is hell. Are these other real people? I guess they are. Necessary hard currency for any of this shit. Is that gonna be? Oh, it's just an upgrade. Okay. Okay, I don't actually. Well, yeah, I guess that exactly makes sense. All right. So, 15 minutes in, loving a lot of this. I'm super confused about some of what went on in that battle and what I was actually intended to do with it. Where to next? The map is here. Lots of knees running around. Don't want to learn from all of these dudes. Wardrobe couldn't care less right now. Unless, is there any chance it's not purely aesthetic? Let's see. It's a different take on Karen. Does any of this stuff do anything? It's not telling me anything if it is. I would assume that this is slightly stronger, but I can't wait to have my Chalcedony Orange Canine. Sprucestein Beagle. Alright. These are my emotes, I assume. Yeah. Alright. So going into this, I didn't even know this was really a multiplayer experience, or if it was like you were going to play as 33 dudes as you continue to grow. Let's see what that is. Oh. It'd be nice if I got you in frame before this conversation started. Okay. You got it. Major feats and minor feats. Okay. Love training. co-op power. Cast your co-op power and discover its effects. So was that only ever going to be useful if I had other people in there with me? And is this the stuff that I've already completed here? Yes. So I'm back where I started. Push me. So far, this just feels like that shit before? So stronger attack. So I can take these far with me. Not stacking these things up. Just it's a fine basic tutorial. I don't know exactly what it did for me. Is that a stacked trait that I'm going to hold on to now? Like 3 stronger in my attack? Like forever? Alright, Staff of Sloth. Oh, so now this is the Hades element of changing my weapons around. Still don't get a full sort of twist. Yeah, so nothing acts like a twist. If anything, this would be the I don't like that. That seems so limiting. Okay, here we go. Press XXX. That jump takedown's fun. dudes around here. Puppies rolling around. still have things to learn, so this was just really a tutorial. Zebra's doing just fine. Shifty 40k, nice. Okay. I don't feel good or bad about that at this point. So controls in general feel pretty good. I can't really tell at this point if I'd rather be doing any kind of attack buttons. I feel like X probably makes the most sense there. The lack of the twin stick is really the only thing that's hurting me right now, and I'd probably just have to get used to it. It'll forever feel like a miss to me, I think. Let's figure out what the training on this is. Cast your core power and discovers. No. Bone shrines and oh yeah, that's where I can do this. I need to learn about that. If it means its extension of life. Okay. Let's go quick, Beatrice. Alright, yep. It's the only reason I'm here. Like, why would this second step even be a thing? Is there something to do here that isn't this? Okay. Trade bones at bone shrines to heal. Huh. So I literally was right where I needed to be to actually heal myself, and that sucks. Because I assumed from the original experience that that was something that you were going to get going into the shrine, not just that that was like an immediate benefit of being near that shrine before going into the actual tomb or whatever the hell they're calling it. That's dumb. Because I gotta imagine I had more than 25 bones. Alright. Using bones. Unless I wasn't. Crypt, so there was nobody around. That sucks. One more shot. Oh wow, so it's not a constant thing. Oh, you could come back multiple times, but you are weaker. Interesting. At 11 feet. So that's a permanent thing. Okay. Be a soul, my friend. You did. What exactly killed him? Okay. Easy enough. Did I lose health for resurrection? Huh. towards these. I assume this is harder and hardest. Let's see. It's got me. I would definitely spend more time in here, and I would almost certainly suggest it to other people to see what the social experience is like with people I plan to play with, and also to figure out what the sort of chat capabilities are for playing with people that you've actually lobbied with in the game on purpose, as opposed to just randos. So I'm gonna stick with some of these folks. just a little rain. Just a rain. Good stuff. Ooh, you just heal us? Yeah, brother. Huge apologies on that, everybody. Sorry. What's this thing? The secret. say I'm here for it. It was a lot of fun. There was so much stuff going on that I did not understand, and that was totally fine. It was smooth all throughout. Look at all the shit that was just going on that screen, and it never felt like it was slogged as a result of it. Love it. Just got a bunch of stuff going. Cool. Get it. What do you gotta say? You got something new for me? Because we're awesome. Yeah, take this one. I guess not technically this next time I pay for it. Ruthless. Reciprocal. I still can't tell if that's going to do anything other than look cooler. You have to say for yourself. I haven't unlocked an additional space. Feet level 4. Let's see if we're talking. Say for yourself, Beatrice. Oh. So joining the right people seems like it brought me through to a much further experience than maybe I deserve right now. Just like the god. What else do we learn Okay, so the weapon determines which of those things you get to deal with. That's why those crazy volleys were happening during the Lucifer fight. All makes perfect sense. Just like what I said. You still have to say, is it just not working? Let's see if it's the exclamation point just always there. Okay, 500 damage, no, 50% damage to elite monsters. Dash kills the last times where they enjoy. Half your vitality also counts as empathy. What did empathy do? Seems like it'd be nice to ability to wish for relics. Well, that's rad. Question marks all relics I never actually found, but technically also do I get to use these, or are these just available randomly as stuff pops now? Which I don't understand in there. That's not change to the actual sword. So I feel like I don't actually need this anymore because I learned on the go, but it seems like I have to do it. No, these are just in development. It's probably worth it to do it just to get the reward. secondaries here. I think they got something here. As long as the content funnel is fire hose. What's it just? So Paradiso's not actually there yet. That's good to know. But just like that, they can just endlessly land. Because it's not meaningful about like the size and shape of these different worlds. It's just create new little textures, buildings, and crap to throw in there, and vampires and whatever. You just keep on adding more and more and more worlds, and some new beasties and upgraded beasties that are a part of that. Seems like you could have a lot going for a long, long time. Okay. Let's quit that, huh? I assume everything saves, but alright, so yeah, I mean, in short, I think that there were very few first time issues with that experience. Things are incredibly fluid, even when there's just a crap ton of stuff going on. The screen controls, for the most part, are extremely smooth and responsive. There are certain things that I never got a handle on, which, you know, like the dagger jump, like the vault or whatever that was, that special. Never knew exactly how far I was going to jump in a way that allowed me to target anybody effectively. So the ability to use a trigger or something to highlight the enemy that I care about would be nice. I don't know if somebody using a mouse and keyboard or having easier time with that and actually able to like select where they're going to lead to or not. It seems like it's possible, but if it's just a predetermined space, I guess a long press to see where that landing is going to be and then move yourself so that it works would be nice. But then the secondary issue there, and really the only issue that I had with this game, is the fact that it's not acting like a twin stick. So you can't be moving, you can't be kiting and then also aiming in a separate direction, which for that like lunge special would be great. Because a miss with that was completely useless and it landed you potentially in danger, whereas a proper hit was maybe even going to stun the enemy, but certainly do a decent amount of damage and allow you to like follow that up with a little like combo, still dash out of it depending on what was going to happen. So the confusion there sucked. It just didn't feel good, and I would like to see that refined. I honestly feel like there needs to be kiting added into this. I hate having to shoot where I am running in any game. I feel like, I don't know, it's lame. And in this particular case, it almost seems like they're going to get away with it because, but look how many people you can have in your party and all these cool things you can do, and it doesn't really matter if you're super refined and accurate with your individual targeting. It's all about bringing in a bulk of people to do some damage. But there's no reason why I wouldn't want to be able to play around in this world and just solo it. And I feel like I'm getting punished to a certain extent for wanting to do that. I mean, right off the get-go, the inability to utilize any of those cooperative specials unless you have other people in there with you. Like, yeah, that's awesome, and it's probably going to push people to play with randos more, and that's a plus in general for the game. But again, a giant chunk of the population doesn't want to play with other people, whether they're planning or otherwise. And if you're basically closing your doors to full accessibility for somebody because they want to go in and solo something, you know, you're making a decision there. And whether or not it is the right long-term decision, I couldn't speak to. You know, I put a lot of hours into playing Diablo by myself and never felt bad about it. And like 50 clones of Diablo over the years with different palettes and themes and stuff. Like, it can be fun to mess around in those worlds and to see just how challenging things can be as a solo. And it seems like this game is just not going to allow for that. But more importantly, again, backing up to like the UI concern, I'm not able to aim the way that I want to. It doesn't feel great. So like big energy moments where tons of enemies were on screen and all those specials were being laid down and all the potential traps were falling around me, but there was a bunch of guys with me or gals with me or whatever with me, made that feel cool. I don't know if that would stay and always be the truth of this game. I don't know if like volume is always just going to be the answer to this is exciting, without the ability to really focus on some individual challenges where like acute control is the difference between success and not. All of the enemies had great telegraphing that always let me know where they were going to be attacking, and there was a really good balance between things that would lunge, things that had an arc, things that had a general area of effects that were attached to the enemy versus attached to me, things that were popping out from a great distance, medium distance, short distance, projectiles that didn't follow any of those and potentially filled the whole screen. Like, really good enemy variety immediately in this experience that has me bopping around all over the map, feeling generally unsafe, and I think a positive way. But that if that becomes the whole game and it's just I dash until I find one area of opportunity to strike, in that case I think most of these enemies, even from the start, take way too much damage to put down, which again leads into the idea that like I have to be playing this with a bunch of people, and like, yes, I want to do that, but realistically I can't always do that. Not everybody can always make that their reality. And everybody's playing nice right now in there, and they were sticking together and helping each other out and sticking around to do a heal that would benefit somebody. Like, that was all cool. But will that persist? Will some people just move past? Are they leveled too high for somebody who's coming in fresh to really enjoy that experience? Will there be enough differentiation between the levels that you choose to jump into so that like Purgatorio really feels like a meaningful step up in challenge and class, and that you're going to be with the right people when you can access that, as opposed to Paradiso that follows it, and so on down the line. I got dragged in early to that Lucifer fight. It was rad. Ascension was cool. Is that something big that I just stumbled upon and didn't deserve to be a part of? Is it something that we're intending to have happen with almost every run, and there's really no reason that you shouldn't succeed in that case? I don't know. It was a pretty hectic battle, and I feel like I was pretty underpowered compared to a lot of people that were in there. So I'm not sure what to expect there. But I will say that a lot of stuff happened in an hour, and I felt pretty good about it. I will say that the game did a good job of offering tutorialization. The minute that I was confused about something, not only was there a tutorial, but I knew which tutorial I had chosen not to do because it seemed like that would be too easy or straightforward, so that I could go right back to Beatrice and take it, and then have no confusion whatsoever about how that system works. It happened with utilizing bones to heal myself, where I was dumb and didn't read a thing, but I could go back and learn that again, and now I know exactly what to look for when it comes to upgrades, when it comes to healing in the map, finding the right icons in the map. Icons are a little bit confusing when I'm looking from a broad map perspective, but once they were on screen, I could tell what these different plinths represented, and that's pretty cool. And the second one was like resurrection, both being resurrected and resurrecting somebody else. The first time I became a spirit, I had run off on my own like an idiot. There was nobody around to resurrect me, and then I felt kind of dumb about being this wandering spirit. Like, what am I supposed to do? Do I inhabit some other beastie? Do I have to find like a chest or something? I didn't know. Immediately when I died, and it's early enough on that who cares if that's the case, back to the woods, back to that tutorial. It's the second one. It makes sense. Now, I was going to take that third tutorial. Like midway through the run that followed, I realized I have no idea what to do with these special sigils that look like they have seats for multiple people to stand in them. I'm going to need to go take that tutorial also, the third and final one in the basic package. And then I just kind of grokked it. I mean, I saw people sort of interacting with stuff. Sometimes it was the special, sometimes it was, the links in the chain to unlock the next tomb, dungeon, whatever they're calling it. I keep not remembering that name, but that's my bad. And that system works. The key bindings caught me up a few different times. I kept like opening a map instead of opening up my emotes, using my own special as opposed to like unlocking something, but that's just muscle memory stuff that'll come with it. I don't think that they're necessarily bound wrong by default. I just think that it's not enough practice for me to really lay it in. So yeah, like learning seems like it's going to work here. There was no voice communication that I was hearing from anybody else. Emotes were making things relatively clear, and the notifs on screen were doing a good job of telling me like where that next portal was and what I should be working towards, to give me a pretty decent idea about where other people were to move towards them as well. Although in map mode, I was sometimes confused about whether it was a friendly or an enemy cluster, so I would have to spend more time with that. Yeah, I mean, it looks fresh, runs smooth, mostly feels good. More practice for sure, more interest. I have interest in trying out the other weapon sets, getting more of those quests done. I will definitely want to go back into this experience, probably several more sessions. I will definitely want to recommend this to some close friends and get in there and try to play some multiplayer together. I'm hoping there's a way for us to get into the same experience in this sort of early access public version of itself. I know that the private stuff is yet to come, but I feel like we should be able to link up and join other randos. So yeah, I mean, almost all positive stuff across the board for an early look like this. I also know that early access is a loaded thing these days, and sometimes that represents a project that is considerably further along than others. But kind of so what? Like, I feel like this is a game that even if I had to put money down on it right now, I would be happy to do that if that was like the demo experience. So now I gotta go back and see, is this going to be free to play? Is this premium by default? I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I'm looking forward to learning more about it, watching out for news, playing some more. So yeah, I mean, high level stuff, all positive. Nitpicky stuff, still mostly positive. And I hope that the game is well rounded enough to give me a challenge without giving me that finer control of twin sticking it. Time will tell whether that's going to be a sticking point that makes me annoyed over the long run for not having it accessible to me versus getting excited about utilizing the system as is in an effective way. We'll have to see. But yeah, that's it. Thanks so much. Good work.